and Pecto's success in bridging public-private gaps. A recurring theme was the need for trust, shared vision, and enabling environments. Building on those insights, today's session dives deeper into systemic approaches to strengthen agri-trade through PPP. We will hear from Mohammad Saqib Khaled on fostering agricultural trade, followed by panelists sharing diverse regional experiences. And thank you for your continued engagement. Let's carry forward this momentum. I now invite Dr. Rabi Khetapal for opening remarks and speaker introductions. Saf, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Humaira. Welcome once again, all the CoP family members. This is a platform which we just initiated, as Humaira mentioned, and we really want to make it grow bigger with more meaningful outcomes. Initially, I think we need to share our thoughts, our kind of work we are doing, and gradually we need to see how we can use this platform practically to build the public-private partnership on the ground on some specific thematic areas. Today we have a very distinguished speaker whom I happen to know well, quite well, I should say. He is Mohammad Saqib Khaled. And what I liked in his own presentation of CV is he is a systems thinker. Normally the CV gives a doer what you have done. He says, I am a systems thinker. I like that very much. That shows the fertile brain he has, which really keeps on advancing on concepts of communication and systematic systems approach to move forward. See, he has 11 years of experience in designing and managing social and economic development projects in Bangladesh. He has managed partnerships with a range of public and private sector. And mainly he had stakeholders in Bangladesh to develop innovative, inclusive, and sustainable solutions, benefiting around 1 million farmers as mentioned in his CV, which is a very impressive number, enterprises and young job seekers. So he's a man for the youth. He himself is a young man, but he's a man for the youth, not for people like me at the fag end of my career. But anyway, we benefit from such dynamic young people on the ground. And since 2020, last 5 years, he has been managing the portfolio development unit at Swiss Contact Bangladesh. And I think many of you may be knowing what is Swiss Contact and all. Maybe Saqib will give a brief overview. What does it mean, how it is globally spread, what it's doing and all. So he leads the business development there in Swiss Contact and provides strategic advisory support to the existing projects of Swiss Contact. And as a recipient of the prestigious Chevening Scholarship, I think it is pronounced Chevening, I don't know, Chevening Scholarship, about 3 years ago, he completed his master's in globalization. And I never knew there is a master's in globalization, business and development. I heard about globalization only 10, 15 years ago when world became more globalized. But there is a very interesting thing. He got the degree from Institute of Development Studies from University of Sussex from United Kingdom. Saqib is a seasoned public speaker, and which you will see yourself today. And it's a challenge for him because his CV is full of communication and public speaking and all. So that is what he is going to qualify today in his presentation. And as an award-winner speaker, he has supported 100 professionals and students to face their fear of public speaking and improve their communication skill. His personal values are integrity, empathy, and excellence. Full stop from my side about Saqib, and over to you, Saqib.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi, for such a flattering introduction. but it's always a great pleasure to see you and interact with you. I'm very excited to be presenting today in this community of practice for public-private partnerships that is being hosted and organized by APARI. So let me share my screen for the presentation, and please let me know if you can see the screen, if you can see my presentation.
Yeah.
Great. So as the title says, this is a community of practice which tries to share knowledge and learning regarding promoting public-private partnerships to boost agricultural trade. And as it happens from Swiss Contact, we have significant experience in Bangladesh and globally of doing the same thing. But we adopt a particular approach in doing so, which we call the systemic approach. I believe different sectors may have different definition of what systemic approach may entail. So I'm going to get into a bit of details about what we mean when we talk about systemic approach and share some of our experiences and learnings from the 25 years of existence that we have had in Bangladesh and more than 60 years of experience globally. So before that, very quickly, as Dr. Ravi was saying, many of you probably know Swiss Contact, many of you don't. So just to give you a brief introduction of who we are as an organization. So it's a Swiss non-profit organization. We are headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland, but we have a very global representation across all the continents of the world. We are represented currently in 41 countries and implementing more than 130 projects with an annual turnover of Swiss franc 100 million plus. So in Bangladesh has been actually one of our very important and priority markets from a long time. And we've been in Bangladesh since 1970s, but our continued presence here in this country has been till early 2000s. Many of you may know about the project Catalyst, which was in the agriculture market systems. So Swiss Contact is the organization that implemented that project in Bangladesh. Currently, we have 11 ongoing projects, and we have more than 160 employees in Bangladesh. And since we're talking about partnerships, we believe in the concept of partnership. We believe in the power of partnerships. And over the years, we have developed a very robust range of partners in both private and public sectors. And you can see a glimpse of that in the screen. Okay. So in terms of sectors, today we are talking about agriculture, but our expertise globally lies in a lot of other sectors. So if I club them together, our expertise lies in skills development and employment generation for youth. We have also extensively worked in developing entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial ecosystems. We have developed green cities and green solutions, green transition in industries as well. But one area which is of very specific importance and very high in our agenda, not only in Bangladesh, but globally, is sustainable agriculture and trade. And we have managed project which has sort of combined these two thematic areas together and tried promoting sustainable agricultural practices while also promoting export and trade of agricultural products. But the inclusive systems development approach, lately it has also been known as the systemic approach. And Swiss Contact is known as one of the pioneers of this approach in Bangladesh and globally. So what this approach is all about. So generally, any development project you would see would start with this step, which is identifying a particular problem or an opportunity that you have for development or you have for solving a problem. So for example, let's say limited export of horticulture products for Bangladesh is an opportunity or a problem that you want to solve through your projects. But a lot of development projects or a lot of development organizations probably take this problem and immediately go into solutions. That, what are the particular solutions that we can work on, develop so that this problem is minimized? And that's where basically our unique understanding or unique approach comes in. Before going into the solutions, we do a bit more work. We have a few more steps that we take for identifying the right sort of solutions. So first thing that we do, and that's where basically the systemic approach comes in, is to understand the system around that particular problem that we are trying to solve. And this is a very simplistic demonstration of what we mean by a system. So let's say if you talk about an agriculture market or an agricultural sector, the agriculture sector has three components to it. On the middle, you have the core value chain, the supply and demand, where the production is being taken place and someone's demanding it and consuming it. So that's the core value chain. But that's not where the story ends. There are some supporting functions that actually contribute to the effectiveness and competitiveness of the sector. So things like infrastructure, things like information, transportation, skills and technology of the sector, of the stakeholders in the sector, and other services play a very important role in making sure that the value chain is competitive and efficient. On the other hand, you have some rules that govern that particular market. And when we say rules, we do not only mean statutory rules, laws, regulations, and standards. There are sometimes informal norms in a particular market that govern a market, which you need to take care of before you actually address the problem. So our second step lies in understanding the system very carefully, very diligently, to understand who are the different actors involved, what are the different supporting functions, rules involved in that sector, and how can we actually intervene there. The next step, we go further deeper into unraveling the problem. So when we are talking about limited export of horticultural products, we try and identify what are actually some of the underlying constraints that are inhibiting this export growth in Bangladesh. Now, these are some of the examples. It could be related to low quality of products. It could be related to compliance with global standards. It could be just simply as not having the right product variety in place. And that's why probably this competitiveness is not being addressed. And we don't stop there. What we do is we try and then dig deeper, further, and try and identify the root cause of those inefficiencies or those constraints that we are talking about. So for example, if I take the example of compliance with global standards when it comes to vegetables, some of the root causes could be related to regulatory framework. Probably the right regulatory framework is not in place in the country that's supporting the export of that product. It could be related to lack of knowledge within the value chain actors of developing a standard product or regarding the compliance standards that exists. So once we identify the root causes, once again, one deviation from other development approaches is that generally you will say traditional development organizations going into solutions and providing the solutions themselves. But what we try and do was we try and identify the market actors or the system actors who are in position, who are placed at the right state to actually provide the solutions. So we do not provide the solutions ourselves. We partner with existing public and private stakeholders within that system and try and support them so that they can build their capacity and offer these services and solve those problems. So for example, when we talk about, let's say, lack of knowledge of value chain actors, there are multiple stakeholders that can play a role here. DAE as a government extension service provider can play a role. Exporter associations who work very closely with farmers, they can play a role. Input companies who are providing inputs, they can play a role. Lead farmers and other farmers, they can play a role. So we try and identify all the stakeholders and actors who can play a role in this ecosystem to solve a particular problem. And then we try and facilitate cooperation and partnerships within those stakeholders and with specific actors to try and basically address those problems. We try and leverage shared resources. What we've seen is that different actors come with different expertise, different resources, different incentives, and we try and identify those resources and leverage them so that eventually 1 + 1 = 3, which basically means it does not only benefit the stakeholders themselves, but it results in multiplication of benefits to the beneficiaries, to the different actors involved in the system. Then with those partners involved, we pilot different strategies, solutions, and business models. And a very important component of our approach is rigorous monitoring and adaptive management or in traditional project management, it's known as the agile method. So we do not only implement solutions, we are very adaptive. We are quick on our feet to make sure that we continue reiterating and correcting our approach so that, eventually it's going towards the right direction. So very quickly, what are some of the core features of this approach? Number one, it's aimed at systemic thinking. So we do not look at problems very linearly. We look at problems as a complex phenomenon within the system, and we try and address that from a systemic perspective. There's a strong emphasis on sustainability. So that's why we do not do things ourselves. And that's why we try and identify the incentives of actors. There are two things that's important to make any solution sustainable. Whoever's doing it needs to continue doing it, and someone needs to continue paying for that particular solution. So how do we make sure that the person who is doing it or the stakeholder that's doing it, they continue to do this and they continue to pay for that solution? And that's why it's important to align those incentives. As I was saying, we do not implement ourselves. We facilitate, we catalyze these stakeholders within the system so that they take the solutions to the farmers and stakeholders. And through this approach, we try and create large-scale impact. We don't try and limit our impact to specific set of farmers or geographic area only, making sure that it ends up benefiting a large number of people is always in the back of our mind. So I beg your pardon. So we've used this approach to actually implement a lot of projects in Bangladesh. So this is a snapshot of some of the agricultural projects that we have implemented. So for instance, from 2002 to 2018, I was talking about this project called Catalyst, which many of you probably know. We implemented this project, and we had a range of public and private partners, including DAE, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Commerce, input companies, exporter associations, academia and research institutes, who basically we collaborated and made sure they come together and solve some of the problems. We took this concept and we tried and establish it within a very thin market context, like chores in Bangladesh, which has its own dynamic. But through the M4C project from 2012 to 2024, we just ended in December, we tried and took this systemic approach to chores. And later on in the panel discussion, we'll have the team leader of M4C representing, so he can share a bit more details about what we did in M4C. We are currently also implementing a similar, very innovative project in the agricultural micro-insurance landscape for a crop, but also for livestock projects. So this is the Shurokkha project, which is still being implemented in collaboration with DAE, Department of Livestock, IDRA, insurance companies, input companies, and MFIs. And very recently, actually in April, we have started implementing another project which aims at improving the sanitary and phytosanitary capacity of Bangladeshi stakeholders to export vegetable products or horticulture products funded by the STDF. And there as well, we have a range of public and private sector partners we are bringing together to facilitate growth in this sector. So let me give you a very specific example to understand how this works. So for example, in our Catalyst project, we were working in the fertilizer subsector. And we saw that overall in the vegetable sector, in terms of export competitiveness, the minimum residue level was maximum residue level was a big hurdle. So it was not only a threat to plant and human health, but also in terms of export competitiveness, it was playing a role. So once again, then we looked at that market system and we tried and identified, where do the problems lie? And we saw that there are problems in several aspects. So for example, there are problems in information, in terms of skills and technology, in terms of regulatory gaps. So we identified those root causes of constraints, such as we saw that there are regulatory gaps. In the market, there were also lack of products, alternative products that the farmers could use. There were lack in terms of marketing and distribution of those projects. And of course, there were gaps related to knowledge in general related to biopesticides and integrated pest management practices. So then we identified who are sort of the partners that can play a role here. And we saw that since there are different elements to it, different partners can actually contribute in different parts. So for example, DAE, the plant protection bin, can play a big role in terms of regulatory gap, minimizing the regulatory gap. in terms of taking the right knowledge and information to the farmers, there the DAE Field Services Wing can play an important role along with the farmers and pesticide manufacturers. Then when it comes to product development, marketing and distribution, we saw once again that both DAE and pesticide manufacturers can play a role. So that's where basically we started identifying and we started implementing. Broadly, there were two major solutions that we came up with. First of all, we realized that there is a big regulatory gap actually inhibiting the growth in the biopesticide sector of Bangladesh. In the existing Biopesticide Act of 1985, there was no provision for private companies to offer commercial biopesticides. And as a result, it was inhibiting the market potential. And that's where we collaborated together and built a public-private dialogue platform called the IPM Forum in 2009, where all of these different public and private stakeholders came together and engaged in dialogues like we're doing today with the COP and identified exactly how to resolve this problem. And as a result, in 2012, we saw the amendment of the 1985 Pesticide Act, which now allowed the commercial crop protection companies to commercially market and sell biopesticide products. Our work did not stop there. We could have stopped at just doing the regulatory, minimizing regulatory gaps. But then we started collaborating with the biopesticide companies to start developing those products and market them in a proper way. Because what we realized is that at the farmer level, at the stakeholder value chain level, people still did not know about biopesticides. They did not know how to properly adopt these integrated pest management solutions. So there was a lot of capacity need that needed to be resolved. And there was a lot of trust issues involved as well. And that's where, once again, another public-private collaboration opportunity arose, where we collaborated biopesticide companies and the field services wing of DAE, where the DAE field services wing, together with the biopesticide companies, went to the farmers and promoted the use of biopesticide products within the farmers. And as a result, as I was saying, the result was that we amended the pesticide rule in 1985, and the biopesticide market in Bangladesh was strengthened. And by 2017, we saw around 150,000 farmers adopting these solutions through the different partners that we have worked together. So in continuation of that, we have very recently started working with the STDF as well. Our work with STDF began in actually 2023, when we analyzed the different sanitary and phytosanitary barriers in the horticulture sector of Bangladesh. So we used a unique approach, a unique method called PIMA, which is a STDF promoted approach, the prioritizing investment for market access approach. And using that approach, we identified the different SPS barriers that exist in the horticulture sector. And after that, as I was saying, from April 25, we have started implementing a project called Improving the Implementation of SPS Best Practices for Export-Oriented Vegetables. In the first phase, we are focusing on gourd product, which basically aims at increasing the market access and income of Bangladeshi vegetable exporters and farmers through implementation of SPS best practices. There are 3 streams of work that we will be doing, once again, in collaboration with the different stakeholders. On the regulatory side, or at the institutional framework side, we will build capacity of DAE to improve their on-site implementation of pest risk management principles for gourd varieties. At the private sector end, we will collaborate with the Exporter Association and organizations like SGS to improve the HACCP processes and good agricultural practices within farmers and exporters, so that they are more competent and capable to export further. And on the trade end, we are collaborating with the Ministry of Commerce and the Exporter Association to improve trade linkages in the European Union and UK market. So we're trying to design a project that looks at, once again, not only the regulatory and institutional gaps, but also the capacity gap within the private sector, but also the trade linkage and trade diplomacy part as well. So last slide, from this experience, we have had some lessons learned, and I would like to very briefly share some of those lessons learned of facilitating PPPs through our approach. Number one is the very first important thing for facilitating partnerships between public and private actors is to identify the right incentives, which basically means identifying beforehand why would the partners or the actors continue doing what they're doing right now or continue the collaboration beyond the project support. And if you can answer that question in a proper manner, then a lot of these incentive and sustainability issues can be resolved. The second thing is one of the reasons why we promote partnerships, especially between public and private actors, is that it can help you leverage on mutual capacities and resources. Public sector actors come with their own resources, expertise, and benefits. Similarly, private sector actors come with their own expertise, incentives, and benefits. And if you can share this, leverage these shared resources, leverage this shared experience, then that can actually accelerate the growth of the sector. Thirdly, the strategically aligned partnerships, if you can strategically align the partnerships in terms of the incentives that these different stakeholders have, the solutions can have a multiplier effect. So for instance, in the fertilizer example that I was giving, we reached eventually around 150,000 farmers, but our involvement wasn't very rigorous into it. If we decided that we would go into each and every village and each and every farmer, then we would never be able to achieve that 150,000 partners, 150,000 farmers. By aligning the partnerships and letting the stakeholders, the market actors run the show, we made sure that, eventually the solution scaled to a bigger scale than it was possible. The fourth lessons learned, and it's very important that, sometimes we believe that partnerships or facilitating partnerships means just building linkages between stakeholders. But what our experience suggests that not only building linkages between partners don't work, because sometimes when you have to building linkages, you need an initial incubation period for that partnership to actually materialize. There needs some technical assistance to the partners so that they can better utilize their capacities, and you need some capacity building of the partners so that they can better utilize those resources. The fifth point, once again, very important for sustainability, and Awal Bhai during his panel discussion will probably highlight further. If we want to take public-private partnerships beyond individual partnerships, it's very important to institutionalize these approaches. So very often you would see one or two partnerships happening, the knowledge and lessons staying only within those stakeholders or only within those projects, and eventually the institutional memory is lost. Especially in Bangladeshi context, you will see a lot of leadership turnover in the public and also in the private sector. And as a result, this knowledge is not transferred within the stakeholders, but also beyond the stakeholders. So identifying the right actor to institutionalize these models and approaches is key if you want to scale these models further. And lastly, and with this, I'll end my presentation. It's very important to have patience. This is a very important, it's a quote that I really love from an Iranian poet called Sadi. And it says that, have patience. All things are difficult before they actually become easy. So if we start something, if we want quick results, even it might not really come quickly. Once again, going back to our fertilizer example, we started working with the regulatory reform at the end of 2008. And eventually the regulatory reform happened in 2012. And eventually by 2017, we started seeing some sort of market developing. But once again, many of you might say still the myopesticide market in Bangladesh is underdeveloped. But as they say, success is not really a destination. It's a journey. And eventually, if you're not embarking on that journey, you are not reaching anywhere, let alone the intended destination that you have. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry if I took a little bit longer than I was supposed to.
Thank you, Saqib. I do agree that all things are difficult before they become easy. And I think now things look easier with the way you presented, how we have to really look at the institutionalization of partnership and how the inclusive systems development or the market system development is so crucial to analyze and move forward. It's an excellent presentation. And I would like to now pass on to Dr. Varaprasad to moderate a panel discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. And congratulations, Shakib. Hope you recall we met. It was very nice listening the exciting presentation, taking the example of vegetables export. This is the area where there is a lot of potential, particularly in Bangladesh. And I hope you will come up with some questions from the industry, like the industry of private industry, which is exporting vegetables. Do they need any scientific solution where academia can play a role or regulators can play a role? And this is a platform where we can discuss. And then off the platform also we can discuss and facilitate them. And Swiss Contact is such a wonderful organization. Thank you very much for this excellent presentation. Many people asking your presentation to be shared. I think Apari will facilitate that. And there is only one question from Shesha from Parlinova. Do you see the reduction of chemical pesticides as a result of use of biopesticides, or are farmers using both? That's the using both, and are there policy recommendations being made to promote agroecology? It's a good question, and I think just because of the recent global developments, we are out of this USDA project, but still we are in, because Bangladesh is a core member of the APARI, and we continue to work. Sesha, for your information, we have actually suggested or developed some new regulations for the biopesticides in Bangladesh for their registration, and making it local isolates come more and more as much possible, because mostly now they rely on biopesticides which are imported from elsewhere. Secondly, I am very sure that Shakib will also respond. Pesticide reduction is not the target, but export was the target. So the last spray was put for biopesticides, and we collected some research data in the project, USDA project, which very much supports that if you replace hazardous pesticide in the last spray with biopesticide, then exportability enhances. So I think before we proceed further, Dr. Shakib, you want to respond to this question from Shesha Pralinava?
No, I echo your answer, Dr. Varaprasad. So our objective was actually the same. What we saw was chemical pesticide farmers in Bangladesh, they have to use chemical pesticides. But what we saw was there's what we used to call unjudicious use of chemical pesticides. So they used to overspray those pesticides. And through biopesticides, what we tried and do is we tried and balanced the usage of biopesticides and chemical pesticides, and staggered the spray or use of chemical pesticides in a way so that, eventually when the product was harvested and marketed, the residual level wasn't as high as it earlier was, and eventually, reducing effect on human health, but also reducing level of the maximum residual level, so that, it was compliant with the international requirement. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shesha, any comments before we proceed to the panel discussion?
No, that's fine. It's okay. It's a longer conversation, but that's fine. You were basically looking at export and not so much as the natural resource of soil and so on. So that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then Jorle Shagun, she says, are these effective, and what about the shelf life, inconsistent effectiveness? Yes, these are certainly issues to be addressed through research. And once your biopesticide formulation is available, in fact, we have several examples globally, improving the formulation, it will not only increase shelf life, but also its effectiveness. So there is a necessity to monitor the biopesticides available in the market for their shelf life as well as for their effectiveness. So I think Dr. Shakib has referred about the linking his presentation to the panel discussion as well. So I think we will move to the panel discussion. We have very important panelists today, and I see that Yasmin Akhtar, The business manager, business assurance, health and nutrition, SGS Bangladesh, is the panelist. And the second panelist is Abdul Awal. He was the team leader in the Swiss contact, which Shakib ji was referring to. Then we have Hassan Imam, Deputy Director Export from Plant Quarantine Wing of DAE. And of course, our Dr. Ravi Ketrapal, he doesn't need any introduction, the Executive Director of the APARI. These are the four panelists. I think they will speak about the subject briefly, one after the other, and then we can have again interaction with all the participants. I must also at this stage compliment Humaira and of course the leadership that the attendance in this PPP or biopesticides is consistently very good. More than 60 people globally participate in this and they give their suggestions. Excellent participation and follow-up. Congratulations, Humaira, for all your efforts. And I request Asmin to start her remarks as a panelist this time, around 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Asmin. Please go ahead. Over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, and everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you. First of all, basically, I would like to thank to the CoP members and the APARI as well as Swiss Contact to basically include the SGS as for this partner, as well as I am basically delighted to be a part of this panel discussion, lovely panel discussion session. Okay. So I'm basically working in a one Swiss company. This is the testing certification bodies. Just briefly explain about the SGS. SGS is a basically world leading testing, inspection, certification boarding, and over 145 years serving in the industry. So our total service is we are providing the service from the farm to fork, and our network is total currently we are 115 countries with the 2,600 offices and laboratories with supported by the 9,000 plus dedicated professional. Out of the dedicated professional, around 7,000, more than 7,000 are scientists. So in Bangladesh also we started our operation in 1950, but is registered in the Bangladesh in 1974. So we are also in Bangladesh operating the more than 70 years. So here is a journey in SGS, and we have a total in Bangladesh. We have a total 700 plus employees with all the supports, total testing, inspection, and certification. Now, basically, as a partner of this program, the thing is that systematic approach to foster agriculture trade through public-private partnership. How SGS as a private certification body can support to this program as a private-public partnership? How can work on it? You already see this, Mr. Sakib nicely addressed that. There is a, during the gap assessment, during the risk assessment, it was already addressed that there is a poor quality knowledge gap is there for the standard regulatory requirements on the international as well as the local level. So how we just work on it? Already mentioned that there is a, already we are, whatever the participant as well as all the members, that for the vegetable industry or food industry, one of the major compliance is food safety compliances as well as the sustainable agriculture approach. So how can we comply on that? We have to start from total value chain, start from the farm to fork. So how can we support to the industry? SGS has a wide range of experts. We can start from the farmer level. From the farmer level, we have give them the how, then example, global gap. Global gap means global good manufacturing agriculture practices as well as for good manufacturing practices in the manufacturing level, in the supply chain level, like I say, storage, transportation, good distribution practices, and as well as in the process total HACCP. HACCP is a hazard analysis, critical control point. So through this standard, we can, if the supply chain, total value chain, we can apply it, then this will be the improvement will be on the compliance issue. Without compliance, basically, it is difficult to I can say farmer level or manufacturer level, whatever, even transportation level also not able to their product up to the level, then it will not be marketable. In Bangladesh, if you see that current situation is in quality level, there is a lot of government level working, FAO working, and Food Safety Authority working. There is a different level they are working on. Apart of that, this program will also can partnership with the SGA support to the industry farmer level to fork level through the certification, through the testing, through the inspection, to the we have a laboratory, we have a inspectors, we have expert auditor. Through this way, we can support to the, even in the government level also, we have self support them to how can we harmonize the all the, I can say, requirement level, improvement of the process, procedural legislation, SGS has expertise to support them. And other thing also SGS can dialogue in another one, the traceability. So SGS also can support through the partnering, monitoring and traceability through our audit process. Number 3, as well as for how can I also sustainable way can support for their marketing or market support. How can we SGS support them through the dialoguing, through the I can say competitive. Once farmer level to total value chain, going for a compliance, ensures the compliance level, then they can approach to the international buyers, associations and trader, invite their trader, and we arrange a trade facilitation through the government partnership, then cascade that, then whatever the our level of compliances, then farmer level to manufacturer, and even though consumer level can also be promoted there our product to the for the international export. So SGS expertise can support to the government level, to the organizations, to the farmer, to the organization, manufacturer, as well as for total supply chain to enhance their regulatory compliance, considering the local level and international level. Through this way, we can support them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yasmin. For very briefly, you really made the different steps and then issues in certifications and brought out some opportunities were there. I see a lot of opportunities there for development of certain protocols with combining and bringing together the research institutes, the academia, the regulators, and the private. There is a lot of scope, and then you not only capacity building you have emphasized, but also
certification, inspection, auditing, full range of support is required to enhance the total compliance level.
Correct, perfect. So any research or projection or bringing the partners together, we will be in touch with you. And this is a platform where the connection and ventilation is happening, but we would like to keep it on the ground with the APARI helping in facilitation, bringing together, having a focused discussion for each area. We value your remarks, and then they are very useful. Thank you very much, Yasmin. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Now request Ms. Abdul Awal from the Swiss Contact. I would look forward to your remarks. Thank you, Yasmin, and over to you, Mr. Abdul Awal.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible to us.
Thanks to APARI for inviting me and allowing me to talk in front of such esteemed audiences. Today, my topic is actually to focus on success factors that are critical for public-private partnership models in integrated system. In Bangladesh, there are several good examples of PPPs, maybe private-led or public-led or even small donor-led or something different, but all of them has some common criteria. Um, whatever the size, whatever the sector is, it is. Regardless the sectors, regardless the size, regardless who is leading that, all the private-public partnership has some common criteria that must be, as Shakib mentioned earlier. I mean, the basic criteria that is, let's say, aligned with the right incentive structures, more, I mean, opportunities to leverage the capacities and expertise of the, stakeholders and resources that is available for this partnership. And also the market dimension matters for successful initiatives in agriculture. All we know about that. I mean, if this model is very fine, but market is not that much feasible for any product that has been going through this model, does never work. Given all that, I would like to, focus more on the success factors that we can highlight. Let's say one of the success factors in each and every model that has been successful in Bangladesh is, let's say, either design based on the evidences, prior evidences, actually connecting the dots, gaps, and preparing a model, or somehow to create a new evidence and actually engage all the stakeholders that are connected with this model. Let's say, for instance, one of the successful PPP led by the government initiatives was a plan, national rice processing plant establishment in collaborating with PRAN and the public, the Ministry of Agriculture. How it has been designed. Actually, PRAN has prior experience to, making a trade in the rice value chain. They have very exclusive experience through the contract farming model, and they bring all these experiences into their, model, PPP model. And they convince the government why the investment for the government is actually very much useful and can meet the demand and priorities of the government and also the mandates of MOA, Ministry of Agriculture. So all these factors was influenced by the evidences that has been created through the previous experiences in the rice value chain. Similarly, the choice of the right geography, where you actually focus for particular commodity is also important. Let's say that has also been driven by the experiences that PRAN actually gathered throughout the years, several years. So they decided to operate in an area where rice still make profit compared to other commodities, agricultural commodities. Also, they knew what type of the incentive structure that might work in the rice value chain, particularly engaging the farmers and other stakeholders in the backward linkage, and they keep the lead on the forward linkage in cooperation with the public sector. So all those are key criteria when a PPP actually designed. In terms of public investment, as I said, it more aligned with the government priority, also the thrust, also the future directions. And this PPP model actually accepted by the Ministry of Agriculture based as initially the Ministry of Agriculture adopted the new agriculture policy, which focused more on the value-added products, promotion, export market, and this and that. And also, the key criteria of public investment sometimes shaped in Bangladesh based on the legal business. I mean, uh, the public sector is not open to invest each and everywhere. So probably if the private sector can identify a right area of public investment, that encourage the public sector to get involved into this system. So given all this, I mean, probably I do not have enough time to talk much, but in a nutshell, I mean, the supply demand, apart from the supply demand dynamics, the market prior evidence, choosing the right geography and right commodity, constructing proper incentive structures, win-win for all the stakeholders engaged in the value chains, providing necessary support to producers, alignment with the government's interests and priorities, and easiness to investment make a PPP design successful. That's all from my side. If anyone has any question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think you very clearly explained taking the rice example and then public investments. And I think from your remarks, I'm very sure that aligning the public policy to the needs of the consumers and then private industry together is very important. I think we should work towards that. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Awal, for wonderful remarks in this context. And there is a remark from Razik Fazle. This is precisely why a system approach is required to, first of all, to identify the root cause and then to identify all the stakeholders, public, private, and also academia. And Sabrina has told that we need the academia also should be part of this, and NGOs should be part of this. Certainly, yes. In PPP, in the public, most probably we view that the academia, regulators, as well as the universities and research institutes are part of the public system. And in the private system, NGOs are also part of it. Certainly, these are all important players where they need to play a role in these things. And thank you very much, Dr. Razik, for emphasizing the systemic approach is very important, which Swiss Contact is doing excellent approach towards any project that they work in Bangladesh, which had an opportunity to interact with all of you and also listen and learn about it. Now, I request Dr. Hassan, who is the Deputy Director Export. This is a very important observations we would like to listen from Plant Quarantine Wing of DAE. Hassan Imamji, please give your remarks in this context. Looking forward. Over to you, Hassan Imamji. Thank you. Hassanji, are you there?
He is in the participant list, but we may moving forward with Dr. Avisa. Then I'm calling him. Then
okay. Okay.
This is Mr. Mundur Islam is outside of the Dhaka, and I tried him.
Okay.
I sent him twice the link. He said that to say sorry that he cannot connect with us, and I asked Hassan Imam that to join. He has joined. He has he's in a program right now. I can call him again, and I will try to.
Thank you, Dr. Hassanullah. Please continue your effort. Meanwhile, I will request Dr. Ravi Ketapal.
And of course, Mr. Hafiz, Executive Secretary, the Bangladesh Food Vegetable Exporters Association. I also talked to him to join, but I see he didn't join.
Okay.
I'm calling Mr. Hassan Imam.
Yeah, please go ahead. And meanwhile, I think we take the time from Dr. Ravi.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Ravi, can you please
Sir, is with what
Oh, yes.
sir?
Huh? Oh,
Sir,
please say?
joined.
yeah, Dr. Jiaul, how are you?
Yeah, I am fine. How are you, sir?
Fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you. Yeah, Hassanji,
হ্যাঁ,
if you have
হাসান লিঙ্ক মানে তোমাকে
Yeah.
দেখা যাচ্ছে কিন্তু তুমি
এখন
শোনা যাচ্ছে না কেন?
Yes,
এখন
yes.
শোনা যাচ্ছে
You are
স্যার?
audible now.
হ্যাঁ,
You
কথা
are
বলো।
audible.
তুমি ইয়ে করো, তোমার ওই যে ইয়েতে আছে না তোমার
জি।
হচ্ছে যে হলো অডিও ভিডিও নিচে একটা ক্লিক করো, অডিওতে গিয়ে তুমি হ্যাঁ দেখো।
ক্লিক করো, ভালো করে বোঝাই দাও।
Hassanji, can you unmute and start the speaking?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Hassan Amamji, Deputy Director, PQW. Yeah, we look forward.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is pleasure to join you all today and share a few thoughts on the government agencies, particularly national plant protection organizations, in facilitating public-private partnerships in agro-trade with a focus on export, compliance, and quarantine. As we know, in today's globalized world, agricultural trade is not only a key driver of economic development, but also a delicate domain where compliance with phytosanitary standards is critical. In this context, the role of NPPOs and other relevant government agencies becomes indispensable. First and foremost, government agencies are custodians of compliance. They ensure that exports meet international standards, especially those outlined in the International Plant Protection Convention and the World Trade Organization SPPS agreement. However, compliance is not a task that the public sector can shoulder alone. It requires close cooperation with the private sector. This is where public-private partnerships come in. Government agencies must act as facilitators rather than just regulators. This means proactively engaging with private stakeholders to understand their challenge and provide clarity and consistency in regulatory requirements. Regular dialogues, joint training sessions, and co-development of compliance protocols are some of the ways this partnership can be strengthened. Second, government agencies should invest in building trust and transparency. Exporters often face uncertainties due to shifting regulations or inconsistent enforcement. By creating an enabling environment through digital certification system, real-time pest alerts and pre-export inspections in collaboration with the private sector, government agencies can reduce friction in trade and build mutual accountability. Third, capacity building is a key area where government agencies can lead. Many private actors, especially small and medium exporters, lack technical know-how on quarantine standards or pest risk agencies analysis. Government lead initiatives that train, certify, and even co-invest in lab infrastructure or traceability system can go long way in improving compliance. Finally, policy innovation must be encouraged. Public-private partnerships offer often a unique opportunity for governments to pilot new models like accreditation of private inspection agencies under NPPP supervision can reduce public burden while improving service delivery compliance outcomes. In conclusion, the government's role in public-private partnerships for agrotech is to create a collaborative, efficient, and trust-based phytosanitary ecosystem by shifting from a gatekeeping mindset to a partnership approach. We can unlock new opportunities for safe and sustainable agricultural exports from Bangladesh. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Hassanji. Very comprehensive remarks covering all the important points. The most important key point is having a regular dialogue with the private industry, consumers, and NGOs.
Yes.
I hope our DAE will take lead, and APARI, you know that Bangladesh is a member, a core member of the APARI, and any request comes from you is a very serious recommendation for us. So anywhere you want us to facilitate the interaction with the private industry, NGOs, or consumers, we'll be very happy to do that. And you made excellent suggestions of how recognizing the private institutions for certification is also a very important step. All these things are new initiatives for Bangladesh to make it happen. And thank you very much, Hassanji, for flagging the most important issues, particularly the interaction with the private industry and NGOs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be happy to facilitate. Yeah. Dr. Ravi Khetarpal, not only for your remarks, but also kindly summarize the other panelists' recommendations and way forward. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Ravi, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Varaprasad.
So,
well, I would say it was quite a good learning for me, especially starting with Saqib, how he really presented the whole things of the inclusive system development, and then a kind of a clarity on Swiss contact, which is very important. I'm sure many of the people here may not be knowing Swiss contact to the way he explained, which I think is very important to know. Because when you go and work anywhere, you need to know the local, national, and international partners. So I would like to thank Saqib for really giving a brief but succinct account of Swiss contact, apart from the theme of the CoP today. That I think I was impressed by what was briefly presented by Ms. Yasmin Akhtar. Honestly, I was not much aware. SGS Bangladesh, and it was a good learning. Like if you have to go for compliances A to Z, look at Yasmin Akhtar. She will give you an answer. I mean, it's very good to know that we have such kind of, like platforms in the country. And that is one of the objective of COP, where you identify partners and you move ahead with inclusivity. So I'm really grateful to Yasmin and Saqib for really opening up that point of what is Swiss contact, what is SGS. Great work for international trade. Salute to them. Now, about my comments, I think the major point in the whole game plan is market access. You do compliance, you do your work, is eventually the market access. And market access requires a strategy. And market access strategy is not same for all kinds of market. There are often differences. So that is one point I believe, which is an additional point I wanted to add than all what was emphasized, though what Sakib mentioned did cover in the systems approach. Market access definitely becomes a part, but I think it should carry a very major role in the whole process, because if you start from there, your goal, which is a market, then you know what is a compliance you need, where you need partnership, what you need to do, whether you have a niche market in EU or Australasia or North America, or you have a market in Africa, or you have market in Asia. I think your whole approach will change in terms of compliance strategy and all. So that is another point I just wanted to add. But among the suggestions which were given, I think the whole discussion was moved into a very proper direction in a simple language by one Miss Sabrina Lutfa. She talked of ecosystem. I had been talking of the agriculture innovation ecosystem everywhere, where you need a multi-stakeholder partnership. We are very good independently, all of us, but do we have that platform where we meet public, private, or those who are bridging the education sector, the policymakers? Generally, no. And that ecosystem, which brings academia to have their respective place, everyone to have their own place, and jointly how we do, how we progress. I think that is one thing I really fully, absolutely agreed with her on the point of developing a national ecosystem on agriculture, maybe export, innovation, whatever you may call it, which will be very crucial for public-private partnership. See, every agency will have its own kind of approach, which we appreciate and we have to learn from them. But the national ecosystem is something I think stole the show among all the suggestions which came from me personally. And I really give it very high value for as an outcome of this CoP. But having said that, what we need is a kind of political will. Private sector will be always happy to partner with public with certain limitations. They have confidentiality clause, they have intellectual property rights, they have many things. And public sector will always have a lack of trust with private sector. So, which is happening. And this is where we need to work to make sure that whatever we are discussing really becomes something which is tangibly, practically possible. It is happening, but in some sectors. So normally we talk of bottom-up approach in life for any projects and all to look at the smallest denominator on the ground. But in public-private partnership, I still feel we need a top-down approach. It has to come from the top. If a minister says, if a secretary says, if a director says, if the CEO says, that has a lot of meaning for the public-private partnership to be properly cemented. And here, I would say the point which I would emphasize rather is the public-private partnership principles. You need some principles of public-private partnership, which I think we can discuss at some other platform, but that is very crucial. And I would like to end up my comments by saying that about 3 months back, I was in Bangladesh with the help of BARC, which is our nodal agency, and with input from all the agencies from DAE and each and every agency in Bangladesh which are involved in agriculture. We had a meeting with the executive chairman of BARC, and the outcome of the meeting was APARI is asked to develop a public-private partnership strategy white paper for Bangladesh by the end of the year, which was asked by the Ministry of Agriculture to the BARC chair. So she asked me to do that, maybe the initial draft from APARI side. And this, given COP, is actually helping us a lot to shape that, because we started this COP more Bangladesh-centric, and gradually we want to fan out into South Asia, Asia, or maybe global. So finally, I believe the presentation today by everyone opened eyes of many, I believe, on many new aspects, how to work more systematically with the systems thinking, and how to really find a place where you have all the means of compliances, and what are the expectations of the government, and what we can do. I am really impressed by all today, and I would like to thank each and every participant, each and every panelist, and I would like to thank finally Saqib, who was the man of the match, which we declared before the match, so which is unusual, but yes. And I would also like to thank my colleague, Dr. Vara Prasad, and my very sincere thank to Humaira Jahan Sonam, who's doing a great job for our party to cement all these factors, components, and all to help us to move forward in the field of public-private partnership. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for summarizing and then making a way forward. Thank you very much. I think we are ahead of our scheduled time, about 15 minutes, but it's always gives satisfaction, the quality of the discussions and presentations. Dr. Ziaul Islam would like to make some comments.
Can we have a group photo? Ziaul can speak while we are having a photo.
Yeah, please. All of you, please open the video.
Thank you. Thank you to give me the chance. Absolutely, I'm very much pleased to participate in this session. Thank you, Ms. Humayara, for invitation me, and also Dr. Ravi sir, Dr. Bharakusha sir, and Dr. Asadullah sir, Dr. Hassan Imam, and all other dear participants. This is a good topics for us for discussion and to make a roadmap for the future activities of Bangladesh agriculture. That is a systematic approach to foster agriculture trade through public-private partnership. The one more important thing is already discussed here about the biopesticide. So I have an observation to expedite the use of biopesticide at farmers level. I think there is a less research-based outcome is present in our country. So if the public-private partnership or the private company focus on research-based activities at the farmer level and with ensuring the proper participation or activation of the farmer, then they can move or they can encourage to use the biopesticides at their level, because it is a trust depending matter why they will use the biopesticide rather than the chemical pesticide. So only the dialogue, the farmers cannot understand the activity or understand the value of the biopesticide. It needs a research-based work. And of course, the farmers should be more actively included in this activity. Another point is for private-public partnership, absolutely sometimes the private company focus more on profitability and return of an investment. So I think there should be a consideration in this regard, because at present or at first, they have to be implement their activities, or the combined activities should be may not be profitability or return based. It should be more encourage the or develop the systematic approach of our agricultural trade. And another option is there is more multiple stakeholder, but less communication is a great limitation for implement the public-private partnership. We are facing more difficulties in enforcing the contract farming practices in our country. So my another point is power imbalance and trust deficits is another point. So if you can design the protocol or method to make the public-private partnership to foster the agriculture of Bangladesh. I think this point may be included, and the outcome and the limitation and why the forwarding should be included in your future activities. Thanks to all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jayawal, for very relevant comments. I hope we continue to work together in achieving these things. Shesha, I know that the request has come from the government. Yeah, Sabrina, I will come back to you. That regarding this public-private policy, since the request is from Ministry of Agriculture through BARC, I'm sure that we will be able to reach them and make some influence. Fingers crossed because of the current situation, but still I think there is a reach. We'll be able to do some influence on the public-private policy. Before Dr. Ravi Khetrapal, Sabrina, if you want to say something briefly.
Yeah, hi. I just have to say that I'm working in the University West in Sweden, and I joined here today because my father, Professor Lutf Rahman, asked me to, listen to this because I have some interest on doing some research in Bangladesh and regarding these issues of, creating an innovation platform for Bangladesh. So that's why I joined, and it was very interesting to hear this presentation that you have had, but then I have actually had a lot of questions, but I'm going to be very short. I just think that production is not the problem. The major problem is the market access. And then the question is about, if we think that Europe is a market, because I am right now in Europe and I can see the consumers need, there is a shift of need among the newer generation of consumers. They're becoming more and more sustainable, and they're planning to consume more and more sustainable crops and vegetables and so on and so forth. So the problem would be there will be an impact on export. Because they don't want to have a product coming from faraway countries, because they consider this carbon footprint and blah blah blah, all these things. It's a very trendy thing, and the consumers are demanding having crops or consuming crops or vegetables from their nearby countries. So that will have an impact on what we export and what we can export to Europe or European countries, or those who are becoming more and more sustainable. So I think this is something that you need to consider. And I also believe that it's possible to create an innovation platform where we can bring in all the stakeholders, all these different stakeholders, and through that we can ensure fair price for the producers, because that's the ultimate goal, as I believe. Thank you very much. That was my comments.
Thank you, Sabrina. Very nice listening from you. And then you are welcome to actually give a mail to Umaira or the Dr. Ravi, where we can actually crystallize your ideas into a project or how we can make it move forward in practical plans. Thank you very much, Sabrina. Dr. Ravi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Well, what I think is we need to have more speakers in the CoP, and hearing everyone here and the interest of people and the questions. I think please volunteer yourself to speak in the CoP on any thematic area you have, which relates to public-private partnership. And I may like to add, we have 3 CoPs. One is on, we call it CoP, Asia Biopesticide Community of Practice. We had a CoP yesterday only. And the question of Dr. Ziaul Islam, I think, about biopesticide is being looked into that CoP. I request him to attend that CoP regularly. And that CoP is we started about 9 months ago and doing very well at the global level. We got a lot of partnerships and a lot of new kind of program, new ideas. And only yesterday we talked of something which I could never think of from Crop Life Africa. One lady, Scala, she talked about biopesticide index, how to develop biopesticide index for a given country, which can give an idea to the government how much to invest, how much not to, which area, and all. So there are a lot of new things coming up. We need to catch up, all of us, and contribute. We'll be sharing those things with all of you. And I'm very happy to announce that we are starting a CoP on 8th of May on food loss and wastage. We call it FLAW, food loss and wastage. And we are talking about the flaw in the flaw in that CoP. And there we are going to really make people aware of how much we are wasting food right from the field up to the consumer's level, and especially the Europeans who are very fond of wasting, and the Americans who are expert in wasting. We get 20 to 40% based on region, the food is lost. And we say food security, food this, how we can develop best practices to minimize it so that we don't work so hard in agriculture to produce more and more and put more pressure on the planet and put more chemicals in the soil. I think those things we are going to cover in that CoP, and we are going to take it gradually as a kind of a movement, how to minimize the food loss and waste at the global level. And one of my colleagues, she's very much here, Deepika, she is from Asian Institute of Technology in Bangkok. She's trying to organize all that. And the first CoP, I will be speaking on 8th May. Then we will have the speakers on the subject thereafter. And we'd like you to join. We'll send invite to all of you who are in different other CoPs. If you are interested, please join and share your wisdom and try to move ahead collectively with us so that we can have some good collective actions forward for the cause of humanity. Yeah, I stop here, Dr. Varprashad.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think now it has come to an end. And I also thank the Dr. Muhammad Hafizur Rahman and our Razik Fazle for their valuable comments. Sabrina, Shesha, all of you, and Jalalji for your comments in the chat box. And I hope it makes some sense, whatever we talked. And we are there for you to make it happen on ground. And please communicate with Humaira. We will make small groups and also take it forward and facilitate it. Thank you very much. Humaira, over to you for final vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. First of all, apologies for having longer discussion. I hope you all enjoyed. So, and thank you everybody, especially Switch Contact team, Mazba Bhai, Sakib Bhai, Rajiv Bhai, and my two mentors, Rabi sir and Varprashad sir, for always keeping me motivated to work more. And thank you everyone, every participant who joined today, especially our panelists. Thank you all. Goodbye.
How about a group photo, Humaira?
I already took, sir.
Good.
People were smiling or serious?
It was a
Smile.
candid picture, Dr. Ravi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you one and all. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Bye.
Thanks, Humaira. Great job done. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.